Yes, dear, we're making more progress now. Yes, dear, we're making more progress now. Yes, dear, we're making more progress now. Still have a long way to go. They promised to bring us more revenue and quality. Promised to bring us more revenue and quality. Promised to bring us more revenue and quality. Instead is now on its way. Yes, dear, we're making more progress.
Hello, this is Brian O'Haron. Welcome to the show this evening. We're going to have quite a bit to talk about. We're going to show you the agenda first. First we'll talk about comments as we normally do, and I do have a few comments to make tonight. Then notices. The notices will be quite hefty because we had a very busy week this week. Then I'll give you a brief financial update tonight on the budget. Not much because everybody pretty well knows what's happening there now. The annual town budget meeting was held this week. I went to that. It's also been televised. Matter of fact, if you watch tonight on Channel 15 at 7 o'clock, you'll probably be able to see the annual town budget meeting, Channel 15, 7 o'clock. And if we're lucky and tapes get here by the various people who took the tapes, we might be able to see the George Clausen appeal meeting that was also videotaped by private parties and may or may not show up in time for this evening. If it doesn't, it'll be shown some other time. Check with Channel 13 and 15, Charter Communications here for the times. Then there was a selectmen meeting. I'll go through my normal selectmen meeting stuff. Very good selectmen meeting. Only lasted 36 minutes, and it was very professional. Everything went fine. I don't know if I even get to that tonight because I have so much to talk about, but if I do, I'll get to the normal select meeting stuff and the meeting comments. If I don't finish tonight, I'll finish it next week because this is a non-selectman week coming up. And if I do finish it or get close to finishing it tonight, I want to spend next week entirely on reading my 2006 green papers. I got to get to those papers one of these days, and I hope that's going to be next week. So, having said that, the first thing I want to say is that this program is dedicated to Joe Forrester of Union Street for his tenacity in attending the selectmen meetings and always bringing important matters to their attention. So, thanks, Joe. Keep up the good work. There's an old Chinese proverb. Tonight you're going to see in back of me a boat, canoe with a youngster fishing in it up at the lake that I took a few weeks ago, and he tied his red canoe to a buoy up there, a mooring buoy, and so it wouldn't disappear, to travel on the lake, and he was fishing, right? And that brought to my mind an old Chinese proverb which I have told you about before, in which I use for this program, and one of the reasons I started the program, there are many reasons I started the program, as you know, but the old Chinese proverb is, give a man a fish and he will eat for a day. Teach him how to fish and he will eat for a lifetime. So that's why I'm trying here in my old age to give you as much of my expertise throughout the world and business as I can. And even when I was consulting, most people didn't listen to me. They hired me, they wanted my opinions, and then often they went off and did their own thing. It was normally when I was doing things in a job where I could apply all my techniques that I got things done. So I don't really expect a lot from all this. I think it was Penny Owen at a meeting recently said she's been here for 7 years trying hard and she's about ready to give up and head back to Ohio. Well, thank you, Penny, for all your hard work and for trying. I'm not ready to give up yet. I'm going to hang in here as long as I can. It was a little tough this week because all the meetings were past my bedtime, but luckily they were noisy meetings, so they kept me awake and I did not fall asleep. No matter how late I stay up, I always still get up 3 or 4 in the morning and get going while it's nice and fresh and my mind's clear and it's quiet. Okay, the other thing I want to point out today, and if we could show the stand a minute, is I got off the internet one thing I've talked about in the past, and that's the normal distribution curve. And that is, or the bell curve, a lot of people call it, and basic Poisson distribution. And that if you have an average that's in the center of this is a normal distribution curve. And a lot of things we're going to talk about tonight, this is kind of applies to. So when you bring up a problem and you find out what the average is, then most of the other things fall along this curve. So when you hear that a lot of people are attending these meetings and they're raising petitions and they're doing things like that, that's normally the people on one side of the curve or another. In this particular case, I personally think that it's on the left side of the curve, okay? And the people on the right side of the curve, the other extreme, they don't show up for a lot of these meetings, so I want you to be aware of that. Most people fit in a town like Winsted or any other town or city. They fall along this curve, and that the average is somewhere in here in the middle on any given issue, and then it tails off down to here and down to here. And normally what happens is the people here and here make the most noise. This is called the silent majority here, who doesn't say anything. But they don't go to meetings, they don't read the newspapers. Well, they read the newspapers, but they don't get too involved in the local conditions. They're more interested in the national conditions and world conditions. But basically, this normal distribution curve applies here as it does everywhere else on most issues. The first thing you have to do is kind of see what you think the average is. And I always give the example, if you say, these people here want to conserve and they're really conservationists, and these people over here want to build big buildings, skyscrapers, and they're not conservationists at all, well, then most people on the issue, the average would be, hey, let's try to do both in a sane way and in a reasonable way. So that would be probably the average in Winsted for that kind of a thing. So we need to be careful here when we read the papers and we see only one side of the issue, whether it be that side or that side, okay? Because in the newspapers, you almost never hear about this part of the issue. And that you have to go out and dig for. You have to go out and talk to people. You have to take polls. There's all kinds of techniques for doing that. So I just wanted to bring that your attention once more so that you keep that in mind as you see these TV programs on television and the town meetings and things like that, that you're not seeing the average viewpoint. You're seeing one extreme or the other normally, and some people creeping back up towards the center. The other thing I wanted to say tonight was when I went to the meeting on the budget in the town, there were a bunch of students there, and if you can show this thing again, and they had this yellow sign. They were all, I don't know, it must have been 30 students there from Gilbert, one way or another. The valedictorian and salutatorian of the class are they're brothers. I don't know, they might even be twin brothers, or and they were there, and a whole bunch of students were there, and athletes and music majors and things like that. And they carried the sign called SOS, which means Save Our Schools. And they got up and they gave a talk. I would say 3/4 of the people there were one way or another related to the education in this town, either teachers or students or wives or husbands of teachers, or one way or another related, because they're very interested in getting the budget passed. So they usually pack these town meetings, and then I've been only 3 or 4 of them, but the ones I've been to, and then of course you have the other people there they're in the minority. That's the Taxpayers Association usually, and the Independent Party, and other groups like that. So when the voting happens, it's very lopsided. But this meeting was lopsided. Okay, it's not indicative of what will happen on the referendum, which is on the 27th of May. It's not indicative at all. On the 27th of May, people will vote their pocketbooks, and they will vote what they think is best for the town, the best thing they think they can do for the town that they can afford. And it's very hard to influence them. So what you have to do is everybody has to just make sure they go and vote, and you ask everybody to get out to the polls so that we get more of a normal distribution curve, and we get a lot of not just the extremist voting, but the whole town voting. And then we'll know the more people vote, the better off it is, the better indication we can get. And then when they, either if it passes, that's the end of it. If it doesn't pass, then the selectmen will have to make another round of cuts. And as I said in the past, this will not be pretty. So what I did was this week, after I watched this meeting the other night, it got over about 10:30. It started about 7. 6 o'clock was when the selectmen meeting started. Now, the selectmen meeting was not videotaped because for one reason or another, I think at Pearson it's hard to, they don't have the right setup there for that. But I do know that John went in at for the following annual budget meeting, and he did tape that. And that may or may not be on, well, that is what's going to be on tonight at 7, and probably repeated other times on these channels here. So if you want to see that and listen to people speak, it all boiled down to almost nothing, but basically there were a lot of speeches and a lot of viewpoints, and that's very interesting to watch all that. So what I did, I went back home and I thought about it a little bit, what the youngsters had to say, which was basically, hey, let's pass this budget and save our schools, SOS. And I wrote a letter to Dr. Cressy up at the Gilbert School. He's the superintendent of the Gilbert School. And I offered to go up there and talk to these same students that were there at the meeting for an hour about my green papers that I wrote in 2006 and about the town problem that I've talked about on this program many times as an educational thing for them. I did say in the letter that I do believe in education. I've got 3 kids that all got master's degrees. One of them's got almost 2 of them. They speak languages and things. So I'm a firm believer in education. And I'm a firm believer in paying the teachers and having good schools. But I'm also a firm believer in getting the revenue to be able to do that, earning the revenue to be able to do that, and not having to beg for the revenue all the time. So what we need to do is get the revenue, the profitable revenue, into town so that we can balance the revenue and spending, and we can run the schools in a responsible manner and not be overburdening on the taxpayers. So there's a balance there. So I offered to go and talk about my green papers there and to keep it apolitical. It's not a political thing. It's a businessman. It's a business thing. And these kids should be learning that, yes, you can save your schools, but you also need to be able to bring money in to be able to pay for these schools. So, and when's a better time to learn? When you're in high school, that's a good time to learn. So I just sent the letter off today. I think I'll be getting some kind of response. I don't hold up too high hopes that they'll invite me up there, but if they do, I'll go spend time talking about the green papers and then answering any questions as factually and honestly as possible with the students or teachers or whoever attends the meetings if they do occur. So I wanted you to know that I have offered to do that and will do it at any time, day or night, weekend or weekday, whenever these kids can make it. They were all very sharp, they were very impressive, and I'm sure that they can handle the kind of information that I'll be telling them. I talked a bit about the importance of revenue to the town. There's never a better time to talk to people about the importance of revenue time than around budget time, because that's when they feel the heat. When they have a 7.1 budget increase to vote on the 27th of the month, and they have these huge, in certain areas of the town, increases. Now, let me just say that the overall evaluation actually reduced a little bit of the value of property in the town by a hair. And it was in the numbers they gave out at the meeting the other night. So although some people went up very high, other people's went down low and didn't go up as high. So one way or another, we came out with a little bit of a negative on this year. And then I want to talk about the importance of evolution. All this week I said to myself, Brian, you should have had Darwin there last week with you, because evolution is so important. And we talk about the planning and zoning approach and the whole approach to solving any problem. Evolution is usually the key to success. And you often don't even know, you have to dive in and start doing things, and you have to be able to respond to your environment. When somebody's in business, they might have the best product in the world, and read the paper one morning and find out that somebody's just invented a better product and put it on the market. And they have to respond real fast, or they're going to lose their shirt and go out of business. So businessmen are used to doing that all the time. They're used to evolving. And almost anything you can talk about, and I'll be happy to talk to you privately about that sometime, but almost everything evolves, okay? Very seldom does somebody sit back. I mean, accidents have happened where people drop things on stove and saw a result, and things like that, So it's very difficult to plan for a long periods of time without actually getting in and working with the problem, and responding to the needs that come up. Now I want to say a few words about the town manager, and we'll get back, if you can get back to the slides here. I did notice a letter, somebody sent it to me in the mail actually, a letter that was in the Torrington Register, I guess last week, about the town manager, our new town manager. And I got a few excerpts here from that. The first is, a letter was printed on April 26, 2008 in the letters to the editor, from William Sati, I think that's how you pronounce his name, former mayor of the city of New London, Connecticut. And these are just some excerpts from the letter. He was very positive about our new town manager. Perhaps the residents of northwest corner of our state do not realize the quality of this outstanding leader. He's responding to a rather negative letter about the town manager that was in the paper. I didn't read it myself, but it says so in his response, what he's responding to. Mr. Robbins is well known for his tenacity and straightforward, honest approach to matters. He is a strong leader and considers all sides of the coin, regardless of political affiliation. Mr. Robbins is a forward-thinking leader of exceptional moral character with an excellent grasp of government. He is a committed and driven professional who always has the betterment of his community, region, and state at the forefront of everything he does. Given time, Mr. Robbins, our new town manager, will prove everything we already know in southeastern Connecticut, and any town would be well served to have him in their corner. So this is an excellent letter from a former mayor, and he's saying very good things and how lucky we are. So let's give him a chance. Let's all get in and work with him. Make an appointment with him if you have something to say, either pro or con or some need. But, you got to get to work with people. It doesn't do any good to sit up on a hill shooting at them with a rifle. Get in there and try to work with him and help him, and he might even turn around and ask for your help. So let's do that. Now I want to go on to the notices, and there'll only be one more next week on this one, but applications for the elderly and disabled tax exemption submissions continue to be accepted until May 15th, 2008. Applications are available from the assessor's office in the town hall. The town budget referendum was scheduled at the town budget meeting, annual town budget meeting, The town budget referendum will be held on May 27th, 2008 at Pearson from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. The financial update this week. The annual town budget meeting was held on May 5th as planned. The meeting was recorded by John here at the station, and will probably be shown on channel 13 or 15 soon. Actually, there were about 3 people there from the station. I don't know if they were taking turns or learning or what, but they were all there and got this thing recorded, and it went on for 2.5 hours, so it was quite a bit of there. The whole thing lasted 3.5 hours because of the other meeting they had. Maybe this one was 3.5 hours, plus another hour for the selectmen meeting. That started at 6 o'clock. I know it went to 10:30, so. Okay, there were plenty of comment at this, and 1 machine vote. There were a couple of, I'm not going to go into it much here because you can see it on the TV when they show it, but the people, 1 person said, let's try, made a motion to cut the whole budget except for certain items listed by the finance director that were contractually committed by 3%. That got voted down. I think it was like 200 or so to 50, something like in that neighborhood. I don't know the exact vote, but it was soundly defeated. Then they did have a motion on the floor to move the budget as it stands, 7.1% increase, to the referendum on May 27th. That'll be in Pearson. I think it starts at 6 in the morning and it goes till 8 at night. I will double check on that and make sure if I'm wrong, I'll tell you next week, but usually what they do. You go down there and you vote. So spread the word, tell everybody that vote one way or the other. And if I get to it tonight, I'm going to read to you a letter from the mayor that he read out at the meeting. And if I don't get to it, you can see it on TV tonight at Channel 15 at 7 o'clock. 7. It won't be on right at 7, but at the beginning of the meeting, he did read a letter to the town. So I'll probably try to get to that for you. Planning and zoning. The public hearing was held on May 7th. It was reported that a final decision will be made by the selectmen in a week or so. So that public hearing was held. There were people there taping it from the residents of the town. I'm sure they'll show up with it on either Channel 13 or 15. Keep an eye out for it. And again, if they deliver it today, it might even be on this evening on Channel 15. Somewhere after 9:30 or 10. If not, it'll be on whatever they can get it scheduled. And if they don't deliver it, it might not be on at all. But my guess is one way or another, it will be on. The May 5th Planning and Zoning meeting was held, and the following issues were discussed in addition to others. They do a lot of things at the Planning and Zoning meeting. Matter of fact, I think tonight is the Planning and Zoning meeting. It's Saturday morning at 9 o'clock that they're going to have the budget, the annual town budget meeting. So I was mistaken on that. Tonight is going to be the Monday Planning and Zoning meeting. So if you want to watch that, turn on Channel 15 at 7 o'clock tonight, and they may after that have the public hearing, and they may not. So keep your eye open for that. But issues in their planning and zoning meeting, they do discuss issues that I'm not concerned with, like somebody's applying for permit for this or that, or a barn or a garage or whatever. I don't go into that on this program. That's kind of what I call normal business. I'm only worried about the large revenue projects that I call the quantum leap. So that's kind of what I'm keeping my eye on, and everything on the critical path to getting that revenue into town. And to be honest with you, the selectmen have to worry about everything, but their #1 priority is revenue and getting revenue into this town as soon as possible, so we don't have to keep having 7.1% budget referendums. All right, a unanimous vote to deny the selectmen's recommendation to waive the $21,830 for the Second Aurora Estates application fee. That was that vote. There was discussion regarding the density of the Aurora Estates project. No conclusions were reached, but there was a discussion about the density, and you can see that tonight at 7 o'clock, Channel 15. 5 proposals to assist on the development of the updated plan of conservation and development, POCD, have been received in the past here over the last X months, and 3 have been selected to, these vendors have been selected to present at the next P&Z regular meeting on May 27th, 2008 in Town Hall. If you're interested in that, that's when it is, and I'm sure somebody will be there taping that as well, and they'll probably pop that up on channel 13 or 15 if for one reason you can't go to the Planning and Zoning meeting. The applicant may, if he wants to, withdraw his Aurora Estates application at any time if he feels uncomfortable, or he may wait for the final approval or denial decision that has to be on or before June 26th of 2008. So if the application is denied, the developer has a right to appeal through the judicial system, or submit another application at a later date that addresses the denial concerns. I usually involve some kind of a change in the configuration or the plan so they can solve any issues that pop up. Remember, when they deny these applications, they have to give reasons for it. The developer will take that away, probably come up with a new plan. If he comes back at all, he'll come back with a new plan that addresses those the reasons why it was denied. A lawsuit, they may or may not be good enough to get him through another application, but that's the way it goes. A lawsuit will be very costly to the town in terms of legal expense and a great deal of lost revenue. So I'm sure Planning and Zoning will take all this in consideration before they make their decision, because they have to do that as part of their the rules. They have to consider the needs of the town as well. So, but they'll make the decision. So all I'm saying here is it's going to be very costly if this doesn't come in for the taxpayers in town, and we're not going to get any the revenue advantage that we're seeking right away. So we'd better be right when we make this decision. All right, that's it. Now I'm going to talk a bit about the address to the town budget meeting by Mayor Fracasso. I don't have a good picture of Mayor Fracasso here, so I've asked to put up the selectman again, and you'll see him in the middle there during one of the meetings. But I got to get a good picture of him with his suit and tie on, because he looks very professional and businesslike when he does that. And well, most meetings he does wear that. I took my camera last night to the meeting, and I forgot to snap the picture because I got so involved in the talking to the people in the audience and also and moving from one building to the other. We had to move last night because the P. Francis Hicks room wasn't big enough for the 100 people that showed up. But anyway, on May 5th, so this is Mayor Fracasso talking now, not Brian O'Haron. May 5th, 2008, the proposed 2008-2009 budget represents an increase of 2.09%, or $667,733. The Board of Selectmen has removed $1,093,563 from the budget that was proposed by the town manager and the Board of Education. The required mill rate to support the proposed budget would be 26.45 mills based on the grand list of 1 October 2007. This equates to a 1.78 mill increase over the 2007 budget. The prior mill rate is a result of the changes made by the Board of Assessment Appeals to the 1 October 2007 grand list. If you remember, I was telling you that the mill rate would be a hair less because I didn't have the latest information from this Board of Assessment Appeals. But that with the latest information he's talking about here. The aforementioned information supersedes any prior information that was in the newspapers or on my program or anywhere else, because the Board of Assessment Appeals had not finished their reductions. The change is due to the fact that with reduction in assessed values, there's actually been a little reduction in the assessed value, thus changes the mill rate, the mill value, in order to generate the necessary tax dollars. While there is an increase in the budget, there are still numerous items that have been removed or are underfunded in an effort to make the budget as palatable as possible to all. The budget provides for basic services to the residents of Winchester, all the while making it as affordable as possible. The budget puts in place mechanisms to reduce sharp increases in the future. It doesn't guarantee that we'll get sharp increases. Won't get sharp increases in the future. We still got to work on the revenue, and we got to get these developments into town or some new factories or something here to help us. But so nothing's guaranteed. The budget puts in place mechanisms to reduce sharp increases in the future, as I said, and there is funding to add staffing to the police department, which will result in a decrease in the overtime in the fiscal 2009-2010 budget. Remember, overtime can be a function of the number of policemen you have, and if you don't have enough policemen, then the policemen you do have to spend more overtime, and that's what he's getting at here. There is also funding for the replacement of one police vehicle, which should be done, according to the mayor, every year, if not two a year, in order to improve reliability and decrease maintenance costs. Again, that's a trade-off. If you have cars that run well, then you got, like in your own family, then you got less maintenance costs and better reliability, hopefully. Unfortunately, past practices have allowed for artificial budgets which do not reflect the true cost of the operation of Winchester. We struggle with that problem. I mean, even this budget, I think he says a little later, and it does right here. In my estimation, the budget is grossly underfunded. That's the mayor of the town. With the exception of our water sewer infrastructure, the remaining is in dire need of repair. Roads are in a major state of disrepair, and the cost of maintaining them has grown exponentially due to the rise in petroleum products. We have buildings and equipment that are neglected and in need of upgrades or replacement. We must repair items quickly and efficiently in order to prevent greater costs in the future. If your roof leaks, do you buy buckets or budget for the repair? We have begun to negotiate new contracts, and the Taxpayers Association and other political parties and even people in the town, I guess, all taxpayers will be happy to hear. We have begun to negotiate new contracts with some of our bargaining units, and it's hoped that we can come to an agreement that will help to provide long-term financial stability in the town. Now, I want to tell you that these agreements alone will not do that. This is Brian speaking now, not Mayor Fracasso, although he probably would agree with me on this. We need the revenue. We've got to get the revenue in. We've got to balance the, we've got to have enough revenue to pay for the things we want and need. The grand list remains stagnant. This is the mayor talking again. The grand list remains stagnant, and aid from the state and federal sources is also stagnant. Communities only have one major way to raise revenue, the property tax, and that is a regressive tax. We cannot attract commercial industrial development without a top-notch infrastructure, and I've mentioned that many times on this program. We need to get the test scores up to get the industry in here, and we have to have an infrastructure. Now, I'll say right now that I did go to the summit meeting last Saturday. Lasted about 2.5 hours, I think, 2 hours. It was a very good meeting with a lot of industry people from around and landowners and all. And then one of their major concerns was the image of the town. Now, we've got to keep working and working and working on creating a good, positive image of Winsted for everybody, not only in the town, but all the people we want to attract to this town, industry, and all that. So that was one of their major concerns. And as you know, on this program, I talk about that all the time. We must create a good image, and with all these letters to the editor and bad articles in the paper, doesn't give Winsted a good image. It kind of makes a bit of a mockery of Winsted. And we need, as a town, and I suggest that the two political party leaders get together and come up with a plan to help solve this problem. We can all, as individuals, do the same. But anyway, getting back to the letter, ask the public to fund huge tax increases. I better start back here. We cannot ask the public to fund huge tax increases nor can we hope for a huge infusion of dollars in the near future. We know that any large infusion of dollars is years away. If we do not repair and maintain our infrastructure along with providing the highest quality of education for our children, the ramifications will be dire to Winchester. We will make slow and steady progress towards the future. It will not be done overnight. Now that's what I've been saying all along, and other people have been saying, and the majority party was saying even before they were elected and while they've been in office, and they're trying to wrestle with this problem. And I think that you need to back them. You voted them in. You wanted them to get in and make tough, hard decisions to help solve this revenue problem, and as a result also our taxation problem, and our school problem, and every other problem we've got in town. So let's get behind them. Let's help them work. Now, I mentioned to you probably on this program a few times already that I went to Kansas with, at the same time as many famous athletes. I can't even name them all on this program, but Gale Sayers was there towards when I was a upperclassman, and he was just beginning his career there. And of course, when I was just getting in there, Wilt Chamberlain was just leaving. And they couldn't do anything without somebody trying to stop them. When Gale Sayers ran, everybody tried to tackle him, they tried to injure him, they tried everything they could to keep him from scoring. But he did have a good line at the University of Kansas, and they did help him break through and be a very, very successful football player. Now he's in the Hall of Fame. Eventually, by the way, he did hurt his knee, and that's what caused him to retire actively from football. Now, Wilt was the same way. When he was trying to play, he was 7'1" or 2", and people were hanging all over him. He couldn't do anything, but he still did a lot. And he was a great, great basketball player, and he was a great person as well. And what he did was he succeeded despite all the people trying to stop him. Gale Sayers succeeded despite all the people trying to stop him. So these selectmen will make hard, tough decisions. They're pros, and they will succeed despite people trying to stop them every inch of the way and making light of their work. That is something that we as a town, we voted them in. Let's give them the backing, and let's get this job done. Many hard decisions, one of which right now, the budget. It's tough. If this budget gets turned down, then there's going to be some real hard, tough decisions to be made. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the Board of Selectmen meeting that was held on Monday. And we'll just go through our normal flips on this. Call to order, approval of minutes. There was a slight comment on that, which I'll go into in a minute or two. Boards and commissions and liaison reports. There weren't any this week. Town manager's report was short. There are about 2 statements. This whole meeting only lasted 36 minutes, so it was very quick. I did talk to one lady in the audience who was very impressed by these this new board, and she said, "Boy, they move right along, clip, 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 clip through these meetings." And I said, "Yeah, that's because they do all the work outside the meeting, and when they come to the meeting, it's just decision-making time, and they also delegate a lot to the town manager, and he does all his work during the week, nights and weekends and everything else, as do the selectmen, to keep this thing moving." Okay, so the town manager's report was very short, very succinct, couple points, and as usual, right on the money. Lambert K progress, not much to report on that. That's still, we don't have any more information, but there is progress being made, the town manager said, but nothing to bring up at this meeting. Fund transfer for the police department, we're talking peanuts here, $500, and so, I mean, it's almost laughable, but that the police department has to go to the selectmen for this kind of a transfer. Sale of property at lots 29 through 34 on East Wakefield Boulevard, and sale of property at 205 Gilbert Avenue. I'll talk a bit more about that when I get into the next couple slides. Planning and zoning, chairman public hearing was discussed. Questions were asked about that. Resolution for the first supplemental agreement for rehabilitation of the Division Street Bridge was talked about. Public comment was number 11 on the list. Then unfinished business, which I don't think there was any of. New business, I don't think there was any there. Executive session was about Public Works union contract negotiations. We don't know what happened there. That was done in secret. And then again, the colors: red policy, green non-policy, gray is for information or public relations. Now here's kind of what they talked about. I only put up here what I call the critical votes. And the first one was a vote to approve the minutes, and usually this goes pretty quickly, but Selectman Perez had some things she wanted to enter into the minutes about the decision on the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and she wanted the meetings to be changed to reflect some things that she thought were important. So that happened there, and that was voted. And then they voted on a motion to approve the minutes, and that went by yes, 5, that was the Republicans, no, 2, Selectman Perez and Selectman Rizzullo. Boards and commissions, no action taken. Town manager's report, no action taken. Lambert K., no action taken on the recommendation of the town manager, Keith Robbins. He's dealing with those people, and he needs to continue doing that. They're still trying to work with the state on the degree of contamination there and how much it'll cost to clean it up and things like that. Vote to approve and transfer a couple amounts for the police department. To approve a fund transfer, the amount of $500 to be taken from account 210,806,000, and that's the clothing allowance, and transfer $200 from one account for office supplies, and $300 for supplies and materials, and the vote was unanimous on that. It always is. Next is a vote regarding the sale of property of lots 29 to 34 on East Wakefield Boulevard. Selectman Perez recused herself from discussion and voting on this item, no reason given. Vote to authorize the purchasing agent, Mark Douglas, to place an ad in the newspaper and to notify abutting property owners of the sale of the above-mentioned lots and to move ahead with such sale. Yes, 5, and no, 1, Selectman Rizzullo. Sale of property at 205 Gilbert Avenue. There was a vote to table this item as recommended by the town manager because evidently there's a couple of issues that he wants to get resolved before that comes up again. Vote to appoint James Townsend. I think he's a local attorney, neither Republican nor Democrat, I understand. To be the moderator for the hearing on Wednesday, May 7th, 2:08 at 7 p.m. to be held in the town hall. Now, that was unanimous. Now, Mr. Townsend was the moderator for the meeting, the public hearing for the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and this guy did a very, very good job. We were moved from the P. Francis Hicks room, which holds about 81 people, to the cafeteria at the Pearson School. There were 100 people in there, not the quietest people in the world, not the noisiest people in the world, but and the sound system wasn't too good, so it was hard to hear. But I think this moderator, under the circumstances, did a very, very good job, and he's to be commended for that. Hope we can use him again if we have a need, and I hope we do never have a need again to use them. But number 125 over the last 6 months is vote to reaffirm that the Board of Selectmen resolved that the town manager, Keith Robbins, is hereby authorized and directed to execute any document and take any action necessary or desirable to complete the Division Street Bridge project and apply for and accept any grants to offset costs of the project. That was voted on unanimously. The resolution was re-entered in the minutes as the previous resolution offered the previous town manager to act on behalf of the town of Winchester. So we had to switch it to the new town manager, Keith Robbins. That was done. Executive session, public works union contract, no action taken. Red complete, blue in process, yellow not yet started. Now, I'll just put up quickly, no changes here, but the major status is which I'm hoping they're going to be working on with the, when the town manager asked for what they wanted him to do over the next year or so. I'm hoping they go to this sheet and they come up with some of these and they start put them into use, and they do it. And it's basically Harvard Business School type stuff. Have a plan, review the plan, take action to make it happen. It's kind of simple in every respect. Total discussion to date. Policy. Yes, we had 10 policy this time, and with the exception of town manager, which is always non-policy, we didn't have any non-policy issues. And then that adds up to 127 since the election, and 13 no's, and that's beginning to stick now at 13. Been that way for a few weeks, and that's 90%. So we're doing real well there, and I'd like to thank all the selectmen. And I'd like to point out to all you viewers, and I know there's a lot more viewers now because people stop me every day on the streets and thank me and give me advice. One person told me that, quite rightly, that I probably shouldn't say businessmen anymore. I should say business persons. But that's tough. It's tough to say business persons. It's easier to say businessmen. But I will try to say in the future, if I can, remember it. And my memory isn't the best anymore at my age, but business persons. So if I say businessmen, just translate it to business persons yourself, and then we'll all be happy. And I will try my best to say business persons. Now, business meetings business-like, yes, 13, no, 0, 100%. Gone are the days when we had this squabbling that we've had in the last 2 years before this last election. And we thank everybody for that. And we do differ in the meetings, and we do have a little scolding from time to time and a few things like that. But that's human nature. So basically, they're businesslike, and we all appreciate that. I think that the biggest feedback I get from people is that these meetings are businesslike, and they move along, and they deal with the policy issues, and they go quick, and they're over in 35, 40 minutes. Now, I don't know if you noticed it here. I think I'm going to talk about it when I go through the comments. Let me see what I do here. But meeting comments. Because of the lack of facilities at the Gilbert, this meeting was not shown live on Channel 13. And for one reason or another, was not recorded for a delayed showing. I'm sure they have good reason for that. But so you're not going to see this selectman meeting on the TV. So it's kind of a shame because it's always good to have it for historical reasons. In my opinion, this was the most professional meeting since the November 7th election. It was very professional. One selectman did recuse herself for one issue, and that's okay. You can do that, and you should do that as need be. The meeting was again short, about 36 minutes, and I told you so. If you remember, before the election, we always said that sooner or later, if run properly, and if we delegate things to the town manager during the week, and if the selectmen do their homework during the week, these meetings will be short. They will be much shorter. I did go back last week, and I looked at a meeting that was done somewhere in the beginning of 2006. It went on for like 3 or 4 hours. It was on 2 tapes. So we made big progress here. And I want everybody to realize that, because they said they would do it. The mayor has always said that he thought these meetings would last a half an hour, 20 minutes to a half an hour someday, like they do in Torrington. And the whole key to that is the delegation to the town manager, having a town manager that will step up to the plate and do the work, and be professional and do the work, and also having the selectmen do their homework during the week, attend meetings, and meet with the town manager when they have to, and do things. Now, over time, there'll be less of that even. The town manager won't need as much help from the selectmen once he's been here 6 months, 8 months, a year. I mean, Bruce Gresick was getting to that point after 3 months. So I have high hopes here that we're going to continue to have these short meetings. And one of the things that keeps the meeting short, too, is not having grandiose presentations during this meeting. The presentations will be given to the town manager. If the town manager wants to invite some selectmen to the presentations like they do in Torrington, that's okay. Then the town manager will give the summation at this meeting the action items needed or the policy decisions needed, and save us all the gruesome hour and a half of listening to all this detail, which a lot of it is done for political reasons, not for business reasons. We got to try to minimize the political discussions and maximize the business discussions. Pre-meeting preparedness by most is getting resolved. Most of the heavy lifting is being accomplished outside of the meeting, as it should be. The meeting is now for decision making, not arguing, confusion, and debate. There's a lot less of tabling issues. There's a lot more of moving the question, and everything gets voted on, and we get done with it. So we're very happy with that. Please notice that the public comment has been moved towards the end of the meeting. I think that's a great idea. They've taken a half an hour or so of public comment. Now, sometimes it's less than that, like there was a little public comment this week, but it was very short. 2 people spoke, very quick, not contentious or anything. But if we can have this 36-minute meeting, say at 7 o'clock, on the Mondays when we have a selectmen meeting, then all the people in the television audience and all the people in the building at the meeting can watch the meeting, right? And then if they want to stay for the public comment, they can stay and listen to the public comment. If they don't want to stay through that, then they don't have to. So what I say here is that most viewers don't want to sit through. They want to see the meeting. They want to see how are we running the town. What's going on at this meeting. They're not too interested in the public comment. Some people like to watch the public comment because once in a while there's a gem in there, and it's also kind of entertainment for people. They like to see people fighting and bantering and all that. But most people don't want to see that. They want to see the meeting. So the viewers don't now have to sit through all that. They can wait till the regular meeting's over, and if they want to see the public comment, they can. And if they don't want to, then I say otherwise, 40 winks for people like me. We can go to bed right after the regular meeting's over if we don't want to see the public comment, or tiddlywinks for the rest of us. Selectman Perez suggested a change to previous minutes, and that had to do with a statement they made about the planning and zoning chairman's position. And that was accepted. I think they did change the meetings. And personally, I would have called that in to the town manager and had her do it before the meeting, but that's my preference. The town manager, Keith Robbins, announced the resignation of our current rec director, Alicia Corso. I think effective May 23rd, 2008. The resignation was accepted by the town manager with regret. Now, we all know that Alicia Corso did a wonderful job as a rec director. She's also the center of controversy. She was reduced to part-time the last budget cycle. The majority party made it part of their platform to have a full-time rec director. My view is, hey, we do, it's good to have a full-time rec director. We got enough children in this town that have a lot of time on their hands, and they're very actively into all kinds of sports and all kinds of activities. It's very good for the children. Most of the towns in the valley are the same way, and it's kind of good to have a good full-time rec director. A new recreation director will soon be appointed. In the meantime, an interim director, according to the town manager, may be appointed temporarily to keep activities moving while we find a permanent replacement. Now, as part of the educational part of this show, I just want to explain to you who don't know it, and I'm not sure I'm exactly right here, but the Civil Service Commission that we have, using their normal process, will find 3 qualified candidates and forward them on to the town manager for the selection. If the town manager does not feel comfortable with any of the recommended applicants, he can request 3 more applicants of the civil service. And they'll go find 3 more and present them to the town manager. And my view is that we shouldn't skimp here. We need an excellent full-time recreation director in Winsted, And I don't think we should look for an entry-level person. I think we should look for a good person like other towns do, and that's got a lot of experience and can really give a lot to our children, just like the teachers do at the school and the coaches do at the school. And let's not skimp in this area. Lambert K was reported on as moving along, but still no recommendations. I said the small fund transfers were made in the police department. We talked about that already. Mark Douglas is getting this thing ready for this property at the lake. The Gilbert Avenue was tabled for reasons of understanding related assessments. And as I said before, Keith Robbins was authorized and directed to execute any document to get this Division Street Bridge cleaned up, and off we go with that. So the Public Works Union contract was discussed in executive session. Okay, now, as far as the public hearing went, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning, with his lawyer, did present his case. There was a little discussion, a few questions asked, a few answers, and some discussion, but not much. But the whole meeting lasted, I don't know, I got out of there about 10:30, something like that. And the selectmen then adjourned the meeting, and they said within a week they will get back and inform everybody what their decision is regarding this matter. So not much we can do about that, and not much more we can say about that. Now, I also want to say, I don't think I have it with me. Well, I do have it. Here it is. I can show that. The Cooking with Clerks. There's a cookbook right here, and it's being sold by at the town clerk's office as a fundraiser for the New England town clerks, the Connecticut New England town clerks. It's got a lot of recipes in it. I think it's $10. I bought one for my wife, and she looked at it and said she really liked the cookbook. And it does have some dividers in it as well. I'll just show you one. There's a whole bunch of dividers here to put inside the cookbook. And as you can see, it must be a good cookbook because this lady is not skinny, all right? But anyway, all these dividers divide certain sections of the cookbook up so that you can divide it the way you want to with these dividers. So if you're interested in this for a good cause, what they do is the money that they get from this cookbook and receive from this cookbook is used to train existing town clerks, keep them up to date with the state of the art, and future entry-level town clerks there. Now, the other thing I want to point out, I'm just about out of time, is that I did go through and I made a list of all the people on the various boards and commissions that will be, when their terms will be up. I think next week I'll show you that, and I'll go through it with you. So I did it for this year, next year, and you'll be able to see which commissions and boards, the major ones, people will be up, and they'll be up for vote. So everybody will know that, and they won't have to worry about it anymore. They can just take the list and work with that. With that, I think my time's just about up. I want to say it's been a hectic week. It's still not over yet. I think we're going in the right direction, and I do hope that you'll all remember the key date for voting, and that's May 27th, 2008, at the Pearson School between 6 in the morning and 8 p.m. in the evening. And after that, we'll know whether we have a budget or not. If not, we'll go back through the process again. With that, it's past my bedtime. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next week.